Government has retained the current phase 2 of the ease lockdown for another 4 weeks with slight modifications to the existing guidelines. Chairman of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, Boss Mustafa, says this follows President Buhari's approval of the 6th interim report and recommendations of the task force. Mitairi Ipen reports.
Although the second phase of the eased lockdown suffered non-compliance and poor enforcement of PTF guidelines in the states, the task force modified the existing guidelines with considerations for movement, industry and labor, as well as community activities. The modifications include granting permission to civil servants from grade level 12 and above to resume full working hours, Mondays to Fridays, permission to exiting classes to resume ahead of examinations, approval to the Ministry of Aviation to prepare for reopening of international flights in a matter of weeks, and reopening of recreation parks only for supervised physical exercise and not for social gatherings. The retained restrictions include the nationwide curfew from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m., bars, cinemas, and nightclubs to remain closed, continued ban on mass gatherings, while daycare and primary schools are to remain closed except for pupils taking exams in line with established guidelines and protocols.
We have made recommendations to the aviation industry to commence the process for opening international airports, provided all existing international and local prevention guidelines on COVID-19 are in place. We encourage work at home policy for civil/public servants below the grade level of 12. However, while primary schools must remain closed, registered pupils may proceed to take the National Common Entrance as soon as it is feasible, provided there is compliance with issued non-pharmaceutical guidelines. For secondary and tertiary institutions, just to clarify, these remain closed. However, we have made arrangements for exiting or graduating students in their final years of secondary school to resume and partake in exams in line with guidelines issued by the Federal Ministry of Education. Restriction is removed on outdoor communal non-contact sports and the use of recreational parks for supervised physical exercise, not for social interactions, but supervised physical exercise.
The Presidential Task Force reached the conclusion that for Nigeria, it is important to ensure that restrictions are not completely relaxed in order to control and abate further community transmission.
As restrictions are being gradually eased, the PTF, however, warns that skepticism about COVID-19 could further complicate the pandemic. Hence, state governments and communities are urged to own the response and educate citizens.